Thanks again for joining us for another week of the Tackle Tip of the Week. Last week we spoke a little bit about musky lures and the different actions, the styles of baits, and what they're made of. This week I want to talk a little bit about trolling setups, rods and reels. What I've got here, this is an 8.5 foot Shimano medium heavy rods, a TDR. They're not very expensive, but they're great rods. I use these myself. And what we do with these, we put a line counter reel on them most of the time, unless we're running lead core. This happens to be a Okuma Convector 45. The next one down, the 30, is a great one also. And we usually spool these with 65 or 80 pound braid, Power Pro specifically. This reel has a clicker on it. You can hear the line going out. It's got a really good line counter, big power knob on it, big power handle, very sturdy reel. There's several on the market. Daiwa, Shimano makes a great reel. As far as the rod, this happens to be a two-piece rod. I never take mine apart. Once they're together, it doesn't seem like we ever take them apart. These rods, what you want, especially on Chautauqua Lake, when we're trolling, we run into a lot of floating weeds through the summer, especially. Boat traffic and the weed cutting, there's weeds that are left over. So what you want to do with these, you want a stiff rod that you can actually angle down in the water. And the rod is actually collecting the weeds. Every once in a while you can pick it up and shake it off. That just allows your lure to run free of weeds longer. You still have to check them. So you want a decent rod for that. I do more casting than I do trolling, but when I'm trolling I usually run a 4-rod spread. So I've got 2 rods, longer rods on the outside, then 2 in the prop wash, and I vary the lengths. But the stiffness of the rod, especially on the short rods off the back, you want something pretty stout. This happens to be, like I said, a medium heavy. I'll use a heavy rod off the back and maybe a medium heavy, a little bit longer off the side. And I hope this helps you. Next week we'll get into leaders a little bit more, and we'll talk about some casting rods and reel setups. And thank you again for joining us for this week's Tackle Tip from Chautauqua Lake. Good night, everybody.